Good afternoon. Are you guys ready for this? Well, today's art discovery is What's the Message? And I'm Susan, along with my amazing team. We bring you the celebration of fine art, and I'm excited to share with you today Gabriela, Aguilo, who's going to share about her messages and her paintings, and Pete Tillack, our Australian man who sometimes doesn't know the language.
I come with subtitles.
Subtitles. So anyway, we're excited that you're here. Thank you for being out here, and we are excited to, sad kind of, that this is the final Friday Art Discovery of this season. But we will be back next year in the same place, January 16th to March 28th, 2027. So you want to mark your calendars for that. And we'll have another exciting series for you. And we just really thank you for being so involved and supporting all of us. And also, you can always rewatch these on our website, which is celebrateart.com, under Art Talks. So be sure to check that out. So, okay, we're going to get going here, and I'm going to ask, I think we'll start with Gabby, ladies first.
I come from California, that could mean anything.
Okay, you're right. Is there such a thing? Oh, Gabby, tell us a little bit about how you have come to this place in your life.
Ooh, tall question. Okay, so I guess I reached a point. I've been making art since I was 18. I mean, before that, but professionally since I was 18. So my entire life, I've held one sort of job, which was to work for Mrs. Fields for about 6 months. So at one point, though, I felt that in order to continue to make art, I needed to know some really basic questions that I wasn't sure I could answer, which is, who am I? And who's asking that question in a really big way. So I began a journey through my dreams, as Carl Jung would explain that. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he came after Freud, and he kind of proved there was a collective unconscious, which is the knowledge of all mankind from the dawn of time that lives in all of us and in everything. But there's two ways it comes out into the world in a really wonderful way. One is dreams, and the other one is art. So I began that journey as therapy, bringing dreams. And dreams are incredibly, full of love and full of truth. And that has shown me so much who I am that it kind of comes out in my artwork, and it comes out in my conversations, and it's really quite beautiful. If people knew how much love was in there, it's kind of a game changer for your life. Like it grounds me, it teaches me, it just shows me what is love in the most beautiful way. So I've been exploring artwork in every way I can. I've worked in stone, in metal, in glass. I began my artistic career dressing the music industry back in like 1985 or so. I started doing that, and I dressed Paul Abdul and Ozzy Osbourne and New Kids on the Block, Pink Floyd, a lot of people you could name, a lot of soap operas as well. And yeah, it's been quite a ride, and always my art teaches me about the mystery, like mystery my story, of myself to me by paying close attention to what I'm painting and why. And this show has been instrumental in that, because I can't hang 60 paintings in my house ever, but when I come here, that's about how many I hang in my booth. And that tells me a pretty profound story. So opening night is always like a big eye-opener for me, where I get to see a year's worth of story told to me, and you guys could see it too. You might not know exactly what it means, but I can guarantee you, when you step in my booth, you can feel it.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Opposites. Okay. Let's learn a little bit about you, my friend.
I like how you call me your friend, firstly. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. This was the last weekend for the show. What a great show, guys. I do draw off Carl Jung and ASIC as well, but contrarily, I actually need therapy. So that is what my art is about. I actually find it in my pieces. I talk about why we do things, why we don't do things, why we're manipulated by stuff. I fell into the art world. That's not what I had planned when I left home, but I definitely found a family in what I do. Didn't realize other people felt the same way, through emotions and so forth. And so I try to carry that out in my pieces, and I do direct stories. I remember listening to Bye Bye Miss America Pipe. And in Australia, it's a different song. I had no idea what a Chevy or a levy is. But now I own a Chevy, I still don't know what a levy is. But it was finding out what that song was about, drew me towards symbolism. It meant so much to me. So I really try to
I did a
pinpoint.
book report on that song, or a song report, I guess.
Yeah, song report. Can you sing a little bit of it? Okay. Then I'll take over from here. But yeah, so I actually use what I call ingredients in my pieces. Goggles and things like that I constantly pull forward for different reasons. So say the goggles are adventure. Books are chapters, because we all have chapters in our life, good and bad. And I think later on I'll be telling the stories of the pieces behind me, so I won't jump into it too much right now, but I'm sure I'll go through and you sort of see where I actually carry people through my stories. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good, very good. Okay, so it is very interesting. We have pretty diverse styles, mediums, and storytelling styles, but you both share a lot of the same ideas and thoughts and love. I mean, don't let this one fool you. He's deep and very sweet.
I've worked hard for this persona. Do not break it on me.
Okay, don't cry. I won't make you cry.
My mom's watching, so please be careful.
Oh, yay! Mom,
Hi, Mrs. Tillack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, anybody watching online, let us know where you're watching from. So, she's in Australia?
She's in Australia. In Australia, with the kangaroos.
International. All right, welcome. So, all right, tell me a little bit about the butterflies. I just want to, everything that you do has so much symbolism, and it comes from your love experience and through your dreams.
Okay, so you kind of chose the deepest one for me, but it's a good place to start.
Whatever you want.
Okay, maybe we start with the landscape. So these trees that are reflecting in water, and then you'll also notice that my landscapes have geometry to them, that they're, it does compositionally and visually move your eye around the piece. But for me, it holds more meaning than that. The landscapes, to me, are the container that we are in. Where are we when we close our eyes? Where are we when we dream, when we're in our feelings, when we are trying to sense the map to our lives? So, reflecting trees, because as Carl Jung would say, what is below is actually bigger than what is above. In other words, if a person is a circle and you break it in half, the top half holds everything we know, everything we remember, everything that is society, our projections of our feelings onto the world, all the things we kind of see and can touch and feel and experience. On the other hand, what is on the bottom half of the circle is the collective unconscious, which is super smart and super loving. The shadow, your shadow, meaning our bad habits, the things that we're not aware of that we do. Sometimes we are aware of it, but for the most part, our wounds have created blind spots. And you might experience this in that it's easier to see other people's kind of bad habits than it is to see your own. And it contains our repressed dreams or repressed feelings. So to be whole, you must bring the bottom half and make it known. In other words, you can't really protect the people you love from your shadow if you don't know what's in there. So in my landscape, I am inviting you to journey. I am saying maybe there's a depth to explore. If you see on the right side, there's like a little ladder that goes from the top to the bottom. I'm inviting the person to maybe walk in a direction. I'm opening portals. I'm saying dive deep, get to know yourself, because it's the only adventure left to man is inward. So that's my landscapes. And because it's at a sunset, it is really when all humanity pauses to appreciate our life, to enjoy the sunset, to feel, to hold hands with the one we love, to really reflect on something. And how beautiful is it that we don't get one sunset, we get an absolutely different sunset every single day of our life. Prolific abandon, and something that I aspire to with my art. Can I just always bring an original, always keep making new things that challenge and make people feel, and bring a conversation that is maybe, well, neuroscience has figured out that when we're looking at original art, the part of your brain that lights up is introspection, and how gorgeous is that?
I'm afraid to jump back and forth.
You should keep going.
Yeah, I kind of think
Keep going.
Okay.
for continuity, I think it would be nice.
Sure. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, so maybe we talk about the butterfly then. So it is, the butterflies are in gold, and I use gold in my work, but it's not very decorative. It's actually really intentional in that alchemy, which is a mysterious old term that means to turn base metal into gold, which of course the Crusaders tried to find. Alchemists existed. They made alchemical symbols somewhere around the 1200s. They were symbols designed to help people transform who they are, to make them question their own life. This is, in a way, a modern day alchemical symbol, in that the beeswax that I use, that I pour molten over the painting, is eternal. There's no bacteria in beeswax. We have 3,000-year-old examples of these from Egypt, so it is as eternal as a dream. In other words, if you were to dream that you felt loved because somebody came and kissed you or hugged you, the power of that dream to make you feel loved is forever and never diminishes. And whenever you feel, if you felt a moment of distress, you could refer back to that dream for the rest of your life and feel loved. That's pretty amazing. So the butterfly is an incredible transformational symbol in that the caterpillar liquefies to 3 cells. Think about that. 3 cells. And then out of that goo is formed a butterfly. Each one all over the world, every single time with a different pattern on its wing. Even if they're all monarch butterflies, they're all different. The same with my butterflies, each one has a different pattern on the wing, each one different. In this case, though, they're a double DNA helix rising, which means the transformation affects our DNA. It is literally tied to the evolution of mankind. And I would pose that if we don't figure out how to feel our feelings and really find our heart, it's going to be tough for humanity to keep going. We need our heart. We need the map to our feelings that tells us what is more important than what our brain is telling us, because the heart discerns and is really intelligent. So if you can transform, if you can rise, if you can search deep, then you're part of this butterfly painting, which is the only self-portrait I ever do, and I do one every year. It's called The Evolution of Grace, because it is about how I experience grace. So the little egg shape is me as a soul, connected to every other soul in the room, in the world, by the lines that go off the page and go through it. And then the blue in there, water is your feelings and dreams. It's one of the most consistent symbols that we find in our dreams. In other words, if you dream of a tsunami, you're probably a little scared of big feelings that are coming up. In this painting, kind of a dream, it's flowing through me. And that's a really big clue to how we operate in the world and how to find our heart. It's very practical. In other words, if I say, this morning I woke up and I feel really insecure, and I leave it at that, then the hand that is the healing and the divine, whatever, I don't know what it is, it could be aliens, it could be God, but whatever it is that loves us, can get their hand in there and heal the insecurity. If, on the other hand, I say, today I feel insecure because I didn't have a sale at the show and somebody else is having a sale and I feel panicky, now it's a closed loop that will never change. So to remove our stories and feel the feeling in its pure form means it will not get stuck. It will just move through you and it will inform you. It will be the map to your life. And that's a lot. But that's my butterfly paint.
That is a lot. That's, wow. No. Everybody has to soak that in for a minute, I think, but great introspection and thinking about who we are. Very, very important. Okay, we're going to segue over to Pete. And I think it's going to be a good thing for you to share the journey of these pieces or whatever else you'd like to share with us.
Is that the right audience for that? So, yes. Firstly, I overthink shit for a job now. And I was just thinking while I was sitting there, why did I say hello to my mum and not my dad? Yeah, but it's one of those things where the mother has this motherly thing that is always there, but the dad has to sacrifice so much. And we don't get the credit. I'm sacrificing a lot. My mate Trevor over there, he does the same. We talk a lot about those sort of things. So that's the sort of which camera am I working with, by the way?
Both of them.
So, overthinking stuff, like I said, I was looking for excuses to stop doing that. Alcohol, partying, whatever it may be. When I found this was actually at a low level where I was sacrificing a lot to be here and not be around my family. And this came out of me, realizing we all sort of feel the same. These three pieces were hand-chosen for that reason, to show up here, because I started doing these chapter pieces as I was explaining. And you're going to see the process as I overthink a couple of things here. So when you're young, you have all these dreams and aspirations of what you want to be when you grow up. But so many people hit this level of failure that they bring themselves to a comfort zone. The comfort kills people's dreams. It's only those who go on to achieve what they want that they realize that failure is a lesson in life, while everybody else sits back and wonders why and how they achieve that. So this was a big piece for me. It's coming near the end of its time. I've almost sold out those. So I was like, well, I wanted to reproduce some sort of feeling towards that. And I'd had a saying in my head for a while. And I like to hear these sayings and then realize why they don't always work properly. So that's how this one came to birth. As you can see, I've sort of done a similar piece in the top to ode to that one. And it was the Game of Thrones author, and Adrian should know this by how many times she's heard it, which is my neighbor in the show. So, a man who reads 1,000 books lives 1,000 lives, but a man who doesn't read only lives one. But what if that one life he lived was so good that it became a book that everybody else sits back and lives through his adventure instead of their own? So take a page out of there and create your own bestseller. So that was the piece I did for this. And it was one of those things that I had to get out of my head, and I actually didn't think it was going to gravitate or connect with people. It's actually been a good piece for us, a great seller. But then I came into the show with this thought, and it was as simple as too old to die young. And that's how this piece sort of started. And yes, it is a bit of a self-portrait, right? Because
if you can't see it, it's a gorilla.
But I write down a lot of notes and thoughts, and they come from everywhere. They come from conversations I have throughout the show. I manipulate them, I sort of fine-tune them. I haven't fine-tuned this because this is still wet. I'm still working on it. Haven't got the signature. But it was thinking about talking to my daughter and try to explain scarcity, which is filled with abundance, which I'm talking about for years, right? And we never want to talk about it, but it's our end chapter that a lot of us are facing. We try to explain those experiences. So the hummingbird in this one represents the guidance of love, while he is family, loyalty, time. I was on the phone last night with my wife, and we were discussing the value of time. And you can never get that back. It's like you pay for what you play, but you can never get that money. As you can see down here, it's actually stuck in the coin slot, right? Everybody remembers those days. Here's those chapters, because as we're at the end of the chapter, it was up to you to have filled it with those best stories that you could have done. And what are you wasting your time on? So, as I said, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here that I've written down, trying to explain it. You know, time is limited. How do you explain the complexity of age? Because there's so much involved in age. It's not just the time. When somebody hasn't experienced it. So I'm going to put those together, and it's going to become hopefully, as easy as these two, but right now I'm fumbling around, but that's how I live. I fumble around and hopefully land. Back to you, Miss Susan. I'm still waiting for that song.
That's really good. And well, everybody will have to come up front, and hopefully the video, Zoom people can see it, but please.
So, Pete, I love that you mentioned fumbling around. The process of making art, to me, is a very interesting thing that I've been doing it my whole life, and there is a fumbling around, and it's actually really profound. In fact, I think people tend to tell artists and their kids that if they're not doing anything, that they're not accomplishing anything, and I don't think that's actually true, because I think the creative process, specifically, comes from being bored and from letting your mind daydream and from letting these images come in. I do also go to museums and fill the well and make sure that I have a lot of information to pull from, but what is it to create something utterly new? And I think that that's a really profound place. So there seems to be a tension that happens between what I know and a platform that I'm standing on, the devoted, loving, daily practice of my craft at 45 years of doing it in many mediums. And what I have learned from that place makes me feel very secure that whatever it is I'm going to try and do, I can do. And I know I'm really lucky in that, but it's also, I put in the time, and the daily devoted practice of that craft does something to you. In fact, your body continues to learn even when my mind doesn't know it's learning. So then I'm sitting with this angst that comes up when something wants to be shaman or birthed, which is what artists really are. We're shamans. That feeling can be kind of horrendous in a way. And actually like how women give birth, it is very painful. It is like full of fear. It is like, our brain tells us, make the safe thing, make the thing that tells, make the thing you know will work. But how boring would that be? And how would I know my own story if I continue to do that over and over and over and over again? So instead, I sit with the angst. My boyfriend could tell you, it will make me cry at times. It will make me rage against the machine for a minute. And then something happens. Something really, truly magical, which is that in the waiting and in the toleration of that angst, standing firmly on the platform of what I know, something will pop. A vision will come. A dream will happen. That night, I'll dream of, well, actually, I can talk to this painting about that, because I wanted to paint this really large flower, and I've had a photo of this beautiful tulip. It's a fancy white tulip for a long time. But those images in my phone that I've gathered sit there for years sometimes, not knowing what moment is the right moment to tackle that image. And then all of a sudden I had a group of dreams that said, we love what you're doing with the gold. We love what you're showing to the world, this divine thing, but it's almost an objectification of the divine. can you instead step into the light? And sunlight in dreams is love. So I thought, oh my God, how brilliant is that? I can paint this flower, which is really not a painting of a flower at all. It's really a painting of the light hitting the flower. And out comes this painting that made me cry because of all the little folds and all the details and a ridiculous amount of time spent painting it. But it's beautiful and it's large and I thought, well, why this big? And then I had a crazy dream where I see a storm, which is always in the dream the divine. You've heard this metaphor over and over in the world. The storm makes you stronger, right? I run outside in the dream because I kind of know it's the divine. And there's a spaceship. And they're like, you want to come? And I go, sure. And I jump in. And we land on a planet. And there's a big mound of dirt. It's going to make me cry. And they stick me in the dirt. And I can feel my feet rooting. And when I am shown what it looks like, I'm a giant flower in the sunlight. And I thought, oh my God, that's why I painted that painting. So you can get an idea of the value of doing the thing that's difficult or that maybe doesn't feel good to do, and how that, for me, is an incredible adventure. And then you guys get to see the beauty of the painting I made, but I really live the adventure. It makes me so happy, and to be able to share it with people, to be able to talk about it, that is such a gift, and I thank you all for coming to the show, because without you guys, I wouldn't have anybody to show it to, let alone anybody to share that with. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to touch back, you were talking about fumbling, and I like to think about open space. Like, it is really important to have stillness, and doing nothing is actually doing something very important. And open space and freedom to feel everything, and that's where creativity begins. So fumble away and dream away. I mean, it's really great. I mean, he's touching me. But I mean, really, it's ideas don't come when we never take time to think, right? Faces?
Yes, I am. I'm just holding back my stupid humor. Too many innuendos that I can't talk about. But yeah, I think a lot about that. Again, we're older now. We look at what our youth is doing, and I think about how my parents didn't think we were headed on the right track. And I look at my daughter going, she's not headed on the right track. And it's just one of those parent things. And I think about when we used to go to the doctors, because my mum had to go to the dentist or something like that. We had to sit in the waiting room and make stories up in our head because we didn't have this damn phone that took all that time away from us. There is something about boredom. It's a gift. It's a gift to creativity. I don't have that now. I've got so much in my head that I can't get it on the canvas fast enough. I like your dreams. They sure as hell beat the shit out of mine. But I usually keep a book next to me because I'll come up with sayings. I heard a story once of somebody who had a glass of water next to them just before they went to sleep. Their hand relaxed and went into the water, and quickly he would write what was in his mind, because there's something just before you sleep, there's a clarity of thought. And it solves a lot of problems, or it creates something. I have a piece called The Stolen Moment. It's like when you're driving down the street and you forget the turn, or you get home and you don't remember even turning, but you got home. That whole time you're thinking about something else. It's that stolen moment that's giving you a gift of something. And so, as we get older, we don't have as many bored moments because of what we filled ourselves with. But I sure as hell like what we're doing,
When you're talking about driving, you're actually talking about flow. We enter flow when we can't remember because we're on automatic pilot. So we're stepping into a river that is always there. And the artist learns how to step into that river better than most people. But it's also for scientists. It's for anybody who needs to come up with an answer to something that is outside the box. And in fact, children are geniuses at this. And then we sort of make them forget that they have this magical power to create, to think in a way that gives them far more answers to one question than anybody can even figure out how to answer to. It's magic. Creativity is literally, that's why I said we're shamans. We're bringing something into the world out of the ether. We're plucking it from, I don't know from where it comes, but I think it's love, and I do keep mentioning love because there is something, sometimes when artists are worried at the tent or we're feeling angst, right, sometimes all they need to hear is that they have put in the time and the love and the energy into that body of work in such a beautiful way with so much devotion, and we forget that energy is going to just come right on back, that we no longer have to do very much of anything other than be present because it has a life of its own. My body of work has a life of its own, separate from me. It will find the right person. It will find the person that wants to own it, that can feel the love in the painting, so much so that they do not want to live without it. That is a huge, huge statement. It is magic. That's what we do.
You're making people cry.
It's my superpower.
Superpower, make people cry. I think the whole idea of art, it does heal. And this is a place where people feel that love. And I believe that every piece of art is created for a specific person that's going to walk in and say, that's mine.
What about if it was a banana with duct tape?
That's a whole different category.
Well, that's the art of marketing. You use the word love a lot, and this is a great place for creativity. I don't think I've slept one day in 13 years when I've been here properly, because there's so much going on. So I overthink a lot of things, the conversations I have with everybody. This year it's been about the word art and the word love, because my love for my daughter is not the same as for my wife and for my job or for my surfing. And so I try and figure out, well, what is the meaning of love? And it also comes down with art. What is art? Because we've watered it down with this art of cooking, the art of this, the art of that, and I feel like it's taken away from what we do. But in a way, it's also enhanced us because it's put it on a pedestal. I have no answers, I just have damn questions. So I'm waiting to see what that freaking painting looks like,
Well, maybe the answer is always just love.
Nah, no.
Love is the answer.
It's too easy.
And
I got another four-letter word that
we actually have a video about what is art. I mean, what does art mean to each of you? Anybody want to share? Anyone?
The art of silence, very good.
But yeah, I mean, art. There's many forms of art. Commercial art is important. It has its place. What we're dealing with though is just art from the heart that is the expression of who you are, and it's very, very human and very connected.
Yeah, but there are some people who this is a better job than flipping burgers. All they're doing is just doing the same thing over and over again. There's nothing wrong with that. But then there's a few that actually grasp the ability of telling a story or showing an emotion. I remember my parents coming the first time. They saw me sell something, and they said, "Holy shit, we thought you were like a used car salesman." And I said, "No, well, I'm just talking. I don't sell something. I connect something." And I think this is why we're both up here, because we're great at the jibber jabber, but we're just connecting people. We're not really selling our work. We're just having a discussion, and our art's just an extension of that. And a lot of the times we don't realize somebody else feels that way. We're just trying to get this out of our freaking head, right? And so that's what the connection is with a lot of people. That's why we've done pretty well for ourselves. I'm pretty stoked. I like you.
I guess, so Carl Jung said that there's two kinds of artists in the world. Some of them have an idea and execute that idea, and the rest are possessed. And I would say most of us in here are possessed. in the best way possible. It's a really amazing thing to let something move through you, to not be even responsible in some ways.
Sorry. Holy water.
So maybe the artwork is just moving through me. Maybe I'm not actually responsible for it. If it's coming from my dreams or it's a vision that pops in my head, how much credit can I actually take? Now, I can take credit for my ability to execute that idea, to make the flower look like a flower, or to make it mysterious and dreamy. But can I really take credit for the idea, or am I a channel in flow? Am I stepping into that river? Dreams are really amazing, not to take it back always to dreams, but they really are amazing. They bring you the very thing you don't know, you need to know to untangle the predicament of your soul. That's a really big statement. So for me, they're food for thought, they're the adventure, they're the mystery in a really big way. And I'm really happy to share that with you guys, but also, maybe I'm channeling the unconscious on the page, and maybe you guys are falling in love with the thing you need in your house that becomes sacred.
Very good. And I have a lot of weird dreams. I should share some with you, but Jacob, I'll tell him about, okay, this happened, and then that, and he was like, wow, I have strange dreams. You should, but I love them. They make me happy. So
I have a lot of strange dreams after Indian food. Please go ahead.
So I'd like to ask a question, and maybe you've already covered it, but what brings each of you the most joy about what you do?
Okay, so joy. It's a really big feeling, right? Like it kind of dictates how happy we are on a daily basis. And so if I've learned something from my dreams, it's that we're not necessarily supposed to be devoted to God. We are supposed to be the beloved. We are supposed to feel loved. So when I paint and when I come here, what I feel the most is incredible gratitude. I am so grateful that I get to do this for a living, that I have the privilege of standing up here and telling you about my heart. That is an amazing thing, but also, I guess, not to pat myself on the back, but that I had the courage to do it. That is a big deal. And if there's anything that brings me joy, it's when I connect to one of you in a conversation in my booth where we're talking about the art, and I can tell that you guys feel something. That you either stepped into my booth and feel calm, or feel the love, or feel the warmth of my paintings, or that sometimes the person just starts crying. It's my superpower. Sometimes it begins a conversation that has nothing to do with selling art. It only has to do with how do I connect from my heart to that person to in some way mumble and fumble around with my words until something comes out that speaks to that person in some profound way. I am a really lucky girl. That brings me joy.
Sales. But what are sales?
Oh, I thought you said silence.
Oh, not silence, sales.
Sales.
But what is sales? Sales is somebody giving up their hard-earned money because they've connected so much with one of my pieces. So as much as I go for the laugh with something as abrasive as that, there's more to it. You know, why do we work? It's not for the money, but it's the driving to get other things, but why we want other things. And that's what I sort of do. I keep breaking down why we're doing all this. So when I say sales, it really comes down to connection. Because if somebody's willing to pay their money that they've worked hard for, it's because they've connected with a piece that resonates so much with them that they want that in their house. And then we go further when we do our commissions, where we actually get to tell their story and bring that into their piece. And I'm not sure about you, Gabby. I say I do this for a living, but I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. And I sit there and I just talk. And the next thing I know, there's a connection. And I figure out with chicken scratches and create a piece that tells that person's story of their life. And I've learned so much from other people that there's not a lot of difference, from success, failure. Everybody's gone through that in order to achieve certain things. It's just those who are willing to stand on the edge and jump, or to learn to deal with the stress that comes with stuff,
So I think you're speaking to calling, and calling is a really big deal. So Carl Jung thought that if everybody could find their calling, the world would snowball into heaven, and nothing would feel like work. We would all be producing honey like the way the bees produce honey. They're just doing their calling. In other countries, like when I go visit Costa Rica, one of the things that strikes me is how amazingly, how it's a subject matter that comes up a lot. It doesn't matter if the person is poor or wealthy, they're all looking for their calling. What makes me happy? What am I good at? And how do I pursue that? Rather than thinking, how do I get rich? Or how do I do, what is your calling? Purpose makes people happy. It's an incredibly powerful thing. And it does change other people's lives. And it changes mine. And it changes all of the people in my family who have to watch me go through all this and love to cheer me on. My grandnephews who are 10 and 11, they're incredible, but they grew up making art right next to me. So much fun. How wonderful to have been able to have an effect on them. Yeah, calling.
Yeah, without being a contrarian, but I'm going to pull that off, is I heard a cool story of do what you're good at, and on the side, do what you like doing. Therefore, you can finance those sort of things. You say, Hollywood's full of broken dreams. It's not always good to chase your dreams. We're only talking to people who have actually done it, right? This wasn't easy for most of us. We struggled, as I said. I was broken here, and that's how this work came out, right? I listen to a lot of comedians because I like their way of thinking about scenarios. And I remember hearing one guy telling his kids, no, just go to work if you like music, go be an accountant, do as well as you do, and then hire a studio at night and create an album and then give it to all your friends. And then they can tell you that you made the right choice not to follow music, right? Because not everybody's good at it, even if they do like it. It's just that what we're talking to is a bunch of people who have become successful in this show. And so, I don't know, I think a lot about, there's so many different paths. Sometimes the satisfaction isn't always found in the job, but what you do afterwards. I used to be an electrician. I found satisfaction in digging holes. Can't do that now. Back's gone.
I think it's important too, just to remember, that we all have unique talents. You talk about this a lot. There's only one of each of us, and we all have a gift to share, and you are doing that, and you do the hard work too. I mean, it's work, it's dedication. This guy stays till all hours of the night here, working.
Thank you, caffeine.
Yeah. So I think that's the key. It doesn't just magically happen without the work.
There's actually a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. Back to the circle of saying hello to my dad and listen to the sacrifice that he made for our family. It's the same here. Like I say, my wife and my daughter, I've only seen them twice since January 7th or whatever when the show started. That's the sacrifice I made in order to do this.
They too.
Exactly. Yeah, the whole family makes it. My daughter doesn't know anything different, but my wife sure as hell does. And I know that I've got a honey to-do list when I get home, which isn't one of the reasons why I'm rushing home. But, it's one of those things, you got to give something up to get something. Like they always talk about life being balanced, and life isn't balanced, it's a sacrifice in order to create something. So.
But I love that each art piece that anybody acquires, that lives on forever, and generations can share the art. And, I just was at the Western Spirit Museum for the sneak preview of the opening of the new wing, and there was a parting gift for the attendees, and it was a gift from Eddie Basha, the Basha collection. He was known for buying all these medallions by Joe Wheeler, little bronze medallions, and he would sign on the back from Eddie Basha, and the quote that came with it is, "Art is meant to be shared." And I think that's what we do a really good job of here is sharing. And we love having everybody come through, whether or not they're collectors or maybe you're not Gabby's client, but you're somebody else's, and the sharing of the beauty of the art here, I think is really uplifting and sometimes deep. The depth is there, but it brings people joy, I believe. That's what
The audience doesn't have to be large either. I did a piece called Someone's Hero. When I tell these stories, I've had a lot of people say, hey, you should be a motivational speaker and everything. But I think you lose something. Just connecting with one or two people can be sufficient enough, rather than trying to create content that isn't viable, because you end up selling out on those sort of things sometimes, right? So, like I say, if you create art and it's only your parents that love it, that's great. If you sell art and there's thousands of people that come in and appreciate it, that's great. You've still got appreciation. I think it comes back to the connection. One or more is great.
And by the way, truly good speakers are speaking to each single person in the room, not just
I see you all naked, by the way. That's how I feel comfortable. Especially Trevor. I have seen it, and it needs some shaving done.
Somebody was threatening to peel off some more layers tomorrow if it stays warm. I'm like, keep your clothes on. Don't expose yourself to art. But anyway.
Who is this art that everybody's exposing themselves to?
Okay, we're covering a lot of ground here, and I'm wondering if there's anybody who has some questions or some feedback to what they've heard, either in person or online, that might want to get a little bit more clarity or some more stories.
Actually, I want to hear about your process with the wax.
Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome.
So I begin with a painting on watercolor paper. It's in Indian inks, Japanese pigments, and gouache, which is a French pigment. Some pencil, some pen. That gets mounted onto one of my beautiful wood panels that I have custom made with walnut on the side, because I love a very well-finished object. And then I put it flat on a table, perfectly level, build a dam around it, and pour molten beeswax over the entire thing. So on a piece this big, it's about 10 pounds of wax. So I'm working with a pancake griddler, heating it up in small stainless steel containers. And I'm working with a heat gun to be able to move it around. But I'm not really touching it with any tool, because I love the almost pearlescent surface that's matte that is left by not touching it. I can make choices, vertical, horizontal. I can make smoke, I can make clouds, thick, thin, overlapping, not overlapping, but then to some degree there is a huge loss of control. And it took me about 2 years to figure out how to do it without bubbles or craters. But I'm sort of encasing the painting and hopefully the viewer in a dream. I'm trying to show that part of my soul through the painting, and I believe that the beeswax really adds to it. The fact that it's eternal, like a dream, helps. The gold, it is alchemy, is the perfect metaphor for healing. It's awfully pretty, that works too. And one of the things I really love about it that I do see other artists sort of struggle with in some instances is that once I've poured that wax, it is done. I cannot change it anymore. At that point, it is like a part of me that is just there, and it will go out into the world or it will not, but it's finished. And I actually really love that part.
I did speak with Gabby earlier this year, and I was talking about the size of her work, and I found it very funny that she said she's restricted because of how long her arm is.
Yeah, I have to be able to get to the middle, right? So I can only go as wide as my reach.
That's fun to get to know. Let's hear about your process.
Okay, I start off my pieces with chicken scratches and thoughts. It honestly looks like nothing, and then I struggled for days and days looking for images online to represent what my thought was. And then I do a digital composition using usually just Photoshop. And I'll spend days just maybe looking for the gorilla's hand to be in a certain way. And I just sit there, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And when I finally got it to a point, I start painting it on the canvas. But that doesn't mean it's finished, because actually in the piece behind here, when it became the size it was, the chimp was too oversized. And if you actually looked close, you can see where I used to have it over here and had to redesign it because it didn't sit properly when I put it on the canvas. So it's a constant construction. As I'm thinking about things, I'm adding things. So last night, I was painting all the pages glowing and so forth that were put in the watch. And they were things that were coming together with the story. And as I said, sharing, I had my wife just on the video, and she was working, I was working, and every now and then we would communicate like we would at home. But you know, she would say something, and then I'm like, oh, yeah. Or I had mum and dad on the phone the other day in Australia while I was working late at night, and we were having a good old funny conversation, and I was doing cars on the street, and my mum was saying, oh, it's really funny because she remembered when she was in San Francisco that there was a lot of tickets on the cars. So I started painting tickets on people's cars in the piece. So, you know, those little things just add up. And, you know, it's just a little humorous connection. And that's the sort of thing I'm talking about.
And many of your pieces, you have the story that goes along with it that the collectors get to take. Remember the ones with on the back?
None.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I do. I do videos on most of the work, which is another part of the job. Because it's very specific what I want to say. Everyone says, yeah, we can make our own story up, but there's no way you're going to have the same ingredients. Sure enough, every now and then someone will find their own manner, but I do a story of exactly what I was talking about there. So I'll paint the piece, I write this, all the things down, and then I'll fine tune it multiple times and then tell it, especially at this show, I'll bring things to practice over and over again with people who are constantly walking through. And then when I leave, I start fine tuning it even more, and then I'll do a video when I get to it. And under the video, I'll have SFP, which is Search for Perfection. And it will show how many times I've done or tried to do the video. Some are 10 times, some are over 100 times I'll sit in front of a camera and discuss the work. And that's exactly that. That's my search for perfection in order to discuss it. I try to make sure that my words aren't speaking down to people, they're communicating. So I put a lot of the graffiti in there because I do speak rough, right? But it doesn't mean it's not based on morality and value. So that's some of the ingredients I put in there. And I put a balloon in a lot of my pieces because whether you're religious or not, morality and value will rise above all this shit. So those are the things. And they're handed down from parents to the next generation. That's why I have teddy bears in them. Because when parents pass on, they usually leave something for the next generation. And for most people, it's something tangible like a teddy bear or something like that. But in all essence, it's morality and value, because it's something you don't see, but everybody can tell if you don't have, right? And that's what we're here to parent, you know? And it's a struggle. It really is a struggle. It's, you know, I've talked about it a lot. You know, family's a big thing. And my wife and I are very close in our mind frames. And our choices in bringing up our daughter, Chili, we don't know if we've done the right thing until later on, right? So we're always questioning that. You know, I see some faces in here where we've discussed those sort of things, when people come in with their grandkids. And I think that's awesome. Do you know why? Because you're sharing. And if a kid comes with their grandparents here, that's freaking awesome. You've done such a great job that a grandkid wants to hang out with you at an art show. I think that's just such I think that's an essence, you know? I like to give little stickers out to kids. It's almost like a thank you for coming and being part of what we're doing here, you know?
Well, on that note, we had this, for the second year in a row, we have this grandmother who's brought her grandson, Max, to the Celebration of Fine Art. They're from Texas. I don't know if you're watching, but Max was so inspired. Last year, he had little worry stones that he had made that he gave to many artists. And like every artist that he gave a gift to would like almost instantly make a sale. So they were like, oh, with the magic of Max. But he was so inspired, and he talked a lot with Chad Leafke. And Chad used to come here, Chad the jeweler, when I'm married. Chad used to come here with his grandparents, and he said, I'm going to be an artist someday and I'm going to be in that show. So when he met Max, he told Max that story and shared, he actually sent him a starter kit for making jewelry molds. And so Max was back this year, and what a fine young man who's being raised well. And he sent every artist that he had interacted with a handwritten thank you note with a photo of him with the art or the gift from the person. And I just got to distribute all of them this year. So yeah, we love that, and touching lives and inspiring the future. There's probably nothing more important than that, right?
Yeah, that goes beyond what we do. You know, it really does. This is what makes this show special. 3 months. Fucking 3 months. So, sorry. Only one. You said I could use one. But having people come back, you know, you guys bring back your kids, you bring back your grandkids, you bring back your kids, grandkids, I'm sure. And we get to know everybody. And it's not leading to sales, maybe it does, but there's something more to it. That we get to feel what we're doing is just not sales. This is what we're saying, we're connecting. You know, sure as hell that connection doesn't pay my mortgage, but there's something more special about that. You know, having the conversations. As I say, for me, a lot of that will lead to a new piece. That's where I get my ideas. You know, too old to die young. How many of us have had this conversation in my booth about we still feel young, but we don't fit in those rides anymore. But in our mind, we're young as heck. You know, we're just on the Advil diet. You know, our bodies aren't doing it anymore. So, you know, that's what is special about it. And not only that, there's quite a lot of people who come in where their parents have been collectors. Then their kids become collectors. I have one family that every one of their kids has my pieces. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, dude. I become part of the family, you know. And they come every year to visit at least once or twice. And I think that's awesome. You know, and they get to see the people around us, you know, because we become family as well. Like I said, I pointed out the people in the booths, and sure enough, Susan's very careful who to put next to me, because I could rub them the wrong way. But we have become family, you know? We have become family, and we talk throughout the years. Yeah, I can see them in the background, they're all making silly faces.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think we become a village in a way, like,
Does that make me the idiot?
Yeah.
That was no. Christ's sakes, woman, you had one job. I get another fight for that.
So I wanted to say something else too, that we tell stories, right? But sometimes you guys tell us our story to ourselves. Like there are people that have walked into my booth and said something about a painting that all of a sudden brought this aha moment into my head that actually explained the painting to me in a way I would have never thought, because their interaction is bringing something new to the table. I love that. Again, thank you guys, thank you.
Yeah, this is a fabulous community, and it is so heartwarming. One of my team members shared a story with me about talking to some people that have been coming, and that the wife wasn't as interested at first, but then the next time she talked to the wife just lit up about how much they love being here, and so that it means the world to all of us that you all enjoy what we offer here, and I think we're going to need to wrap up unless there's any questions, but I mean, we love all of you and what you do for us, and yeah.
It's mutual.
It's meant.
Someone.
Oh, you have a question from online?
Yeah. We're enjoying our recent purchase of Pete's work titled All the Marbles,
We're enjoying our recent purchase of Pete's work called All the Marbles,
and would like him to share his choice of these words.
and would like him to share
His choice of
the choice of the words. All the marbles.
Oh, all the marbles. Yeah, marbles. The marbles, mate. Yeah, the marbles is the lion looking out the window and having the pages blow around. And that came from me sitting back, you know, trying to figure out what to do next and not taking anything into action. Because what it talked about is you can sit there and you can contemplate where you want to go, knowing not every napkin sketch is going to make its way into fruition. And sometimes you've got to take that adventurous leap of faith, knowing you can fill in the gaps as you go along. Because we're so scared that we're going to make a mistake, right? But then procrastination and laziness becomes the enemy of time and discipline if you're going to go for all the marbles. Because how many times have we sat for too long without taking action and the moment has gone? You know, this is what we're talking about with your dreams, with sleeping and having a notebook behind. Like, as I say, I have a page beside me where I write down if I'm about to go to sleep, and so it just gets out of my head, so I don't forget those moments. And I have actually a whole bin of just pages and notes of ideas that I want to create or just get out of my head that I haven't even gone through because the next one's coming. So if I ever get bored, I go through them, and sometimes I'll see them in a different manner that doesn't relate to what the original thought was, but it leads into something else, another seed of creativity.
It's a labyrinth. It's a labyrinth. Life is a labyrinth, the psyche is a labyrinth, our artwork is a labyrinth. The whole thing is about like following some kind of heartfelt instinct that goes, maybe turn right, maybe paint this. How about this idea? And then you kind of, for me, I find the juiciness or the place where I leap is wherever I feel the desire. When I can tell something's a little scary, ooh, that's a good place to go.
Yeah, there is something about being comfortably uncomfortable. I actually have done a piece on that, and it was based on the fact that when we were at school, for those who didn't really fit in, and we always feel like we're the one picked on, a lot of people, but a lot of the popular kids who we all tried to fit in with still live that life of popularity through school because they weren't ever challenged any further than that. Where those who are trying to fit in get used to being comfortably uncomfortable, they're able to jump more often to achieve those things. And I see a lot of heads nodding. As I say, we felt like we were the only ones, right? It's like a heartbreak. We had no one to discuss it because we were vulnerable at that time, and we wore this mask. My humor, which is inappropriate sometimes, but that was to try and fit in, right? And so I look now and go, well, geez, I don't regret any of those times. It was such a short period of time in this game of life that we've lived, because you hear it, life is so short, but it's actually the longest thing we've got. And once it's over, it's over. You know, so jump, make stuff happen. You know, I think sitting at the very end of your life, reflecting on things you did do instead of the things you didn't do, even if you didn't achieve them, is greater. You know, as long as you keep motivating, you know, we're talking about the kids not doing anything and so forth, but as long as you're doing something, moving in some direction, that instead of just sitting there scrolling, doom scrolling, which we all do too. There's something about wasting time that's pleasurable, but you've got to stop doing that sometimes. Sometimes. Get off the phone, Chili.
And about your perfection,
My perfection?
done is better than perfect.
Not in my eyes.
Well,
See,
Salvador Dali said it best. Get over perfection because you'll never reach it.
Yeah. So there's your therapy session.
No, I don't trust anyone with that mustache, by the way. He's probably got little puppies in the back.
Okay, on that note, thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Pete. You guys are awesome. You can find both of them on the South Tent.
I'm the loud one a little further up.
Yeah, just listen for the laughter. And thank you all for being here. We appreciate you, and we look forward to doing this all again next year. Enjoy the last.
Thank you guys. Thank you for a great season.